Right. So, in today's video, we are going to discuss about implementing CI/CD compatibility pipeline by creating CI/CD pipelines and all compatibility with the cloud services, which is AWS as an example. This is a case study which I'm going to explain you, especially useful to the people who are applying for job opportunities as a cloud engineer. Either it can be of any other role, either it can be a business analyst role, business analyst in AWS cloud environment, or else it can be a cloud engineer, cloud developer, or an admin role, or else it can be an architect role and all, whichever the kind of profiles we are uh, applying for job opportunities. It's always important for people to understand and explain confidently. So what they have done so far and what was their experience, all that. It's always important whenever we are applying for jobs or at the same time, the kind of training we are undergoing, to have an exposure about the case study or a project, to have some exposure is essentially important. In this regard, as part of my training, I used to provide training and coaching in the field of cloud and different other domains. Having a project exposure for any individual, irrespective of the kind of role they were playing, because if you are a business analyst role, so you will be focusing more on requirement gathering, etc. If you are a developer, you will be providing solutions based on the requirement what a business analyst has given. Wherein admin roles will take care of the configurations, authorizations, authentications, permissions, right? So integrations, everything will be taken care of by the admin roles. Architects are the people who provide solution architecture for the solution what we have defined. So this is essentially important for the people who wants to have some live exposure on the cloud environment, especially on AWS in this regard. So when you go for an interview or when you try to understand about a project, having exposure on this is essentially needed. In this regard, so this video I'm creating, this is especially for that context. Now, when it comes to the case study, when you try to understand about the case study, there are different elements to understand. First, we must be knowing about the client details. Next, we must understand about the kind of challenges which client is facing, followed by the kind of solution you are going to provide. And what finally the result are we going to provide to the customer, and which technology are we going to use in this regard. So when it comes to the client, first and foremost thing, we must be understood about the client. Whoever the client to whom we are going to provide solution is what something which we have to be understood in the beginning. Whenever you want to provide solutions for the customer, first of all, we must be knowing about the client. So normally, as far as the case study itself is concerned, this is a client normally offer multiple innovative digital signature products, which comprises of all the hardware part. At the same time, software as a services, because developing an application in the cloud environment, we have three. One is infrastructure service, second is platform and software. Software service means whatever the required software needed for an application to develop. This is all something for uh, all the retailers, right? So smart retailers and as well as for the entertainment sector, right? So at the same time, it also enable an interactive communication with the visitors who are going for shopping, right? So at the same time, entertainment area. This is an area which client belongs to. Whatever the solution you are going to develop in context to CI/CD pipeline, using AWS and all everything for the benefit of this client. This is the first thing. So we must be knowing about the client first, whoever the client and what exactly client nature of business do. Okay, this is the first point to be understood with. Next, we need to understand the challenge. So what kind of challenge a customer is facing? Because when you see the customer from the point of customer services, business services itself is concerned, customer is in a process of extending their products, especially a cloud deployed web administrative application. This is majorly used to manage content which is displayed on the smart retail devices and all. So hence customer wants to launch a product which is a multiple regional markets product by targeting with the different regional markets and all, requiring some deploying of SaaS part of the products, right? So local cloud platforms, etc. All that. To reach that requirement, their business requirements and all, they wants to have a desired time to market the customer needs, so that they want to streamline the code delivery with the help of DevOps environment. Because implementing DevOps environment so that continuous integration and deployment and delivery happens. This is where generally they want to develop a CI/CD pipeline. So they required a CI/CD pipeline in this regard, so that it can be compatible with different cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, something of that sort. This is what generally the challenge which a customer is facing. Point number 2. Next, when it comes to the solution, so based on that, what kind of solution are we going to develop? In this regard, so we are going to develop a customer web administrative application, which normally this app consists of 4 different layers. The first one about the administrative panel, where Node.js is a backend which normally we use. At the same time, it's a salt stack based configuration manager. At the same time, middleware API connecting, which is to the backend for configuration managers at the same time. So this is all majorly useful to speed up the code delivery. At the same time, this enable customers to reduce the time to the market. So when we are addressing that. Along with this, solution provider wants to leverage DevOps expertise, which is majorly used to create continuous delivery pipeline compatibility with multiple cloud environments, because there can be multiple cloud environments now and then we use like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, etc. All that. So these are all few of the areas where we are identified to provide a solution. With the help of CI/CD pipelines to set up it, solution provider has to ensure a seamless introduction of frequent code changes and all that. At the same time, whatever the CI/CD workflow we have, our team has chosen to a drone CA platform, so that this is majorly used to deliver the protocol standards and all for most of the cloud platforms. At the same time, whatever the pipeline are we going to create, this must be having a standard Git flow branching model for every pipeline. At the same time, there must be some recovery procedure to save the time and all, to maximize the fault isolation and preventing affecting with each other. There must be a saving of time in context to the recovery procedure itself is concerned. For that, possible backup snapshots of code assembly environment has to be implemented in the pipeline itself. Along with this, it also enables developers to easily recover from any of the previous functionalities with state of the code assembly environment, so that whatever the current step environment we are, which is not something operated as planned, will be implemented in this regard. So this is what generally a solution which normally are we going to provide in this regard. So based on the challenge what we have identified and addressed so far, what and how solution are we going to provide is one of the key and important element any solution we are going to provide, especially for the customer requirements. This is what something which being into the role, whatever the kind of role are we playing, either you may be a business analyst or maybe a developer role or an architect role or an admin role. Understanding about what kind of solution are we going to provide is important. How technically are we knowledgeable? How technically are we experienced is one thing which is required. But end of the day, how you are presenting yourself and how you are making people to understand about the kind of experience what we have or the exposure what we carry is always important when you are facing any interviews or you are working in live environment. In this regard, understanding the solution is important, and how are we implementing the solution depends on the technology we have chosen, and how this can be implemented will be done accordingly. Now, what is that finally the result are we going to provide, especially for the client, is essentially needed. As far as the result itself is concerned, this is what the result we are going to provide for the customer. Whatever the code delivery pipeline you are creating will ensure delivery of tight schedules and all that. At the same time, it has an opportunity to deploy different SaaS tools and all for digital signature solutions for AWS, Azure, and all that, which results in broadening the access to the global market at the same time for the new investors. So this end of the day outcome, what outcome are we going to provide as a result to the customer is what something which we must be concluded with, because identified the challenge or a problem is important, solution is important. Finally, what result you are going to convey end of the day or deliver. This is all something which we have to be addressed. At the same time, the technologies, of course, it's a cloud environment like Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, like DevOps tools, whatever the tools and all we're using. At the same time, Bitbucket is a code repository. Atlassian Bitbucket is also one of the technology we have used. So this is how you need to present yourself when you are applying for any job opportunities or when you want to become a cloud engineer, right? So either in any of the role, as I stated in the beginning, right? So either it can be a BA role, or you may be a developer role, or it may be an admin role or an architect role. When you are applying for job opportunity or when you are applying for jobs, it's always important for us to explain about the project and how this can be implemented. So that explanation will provide you in confidence to you, so that if you can work on some case studies in the real world, I don't say experience, because unless until if we work on the real environment, we get experience, but at least to have a knowledge over that. Exposure is always important, to have that exposure so that that confidence will drive you to make your interview successful. So or else if you are speaking to someone, it is more confident, right? So it gives you more confidence. So I always encourage people to work on the case studies. That's what in part of my training, which usually I do. I hope this will be helpful for the people who are seeking job opportunities, especially in the cloud environment, AWS, all that, either irrespective of the kind of role you are playing. So this is all about this video. If you have any questions, if you have any queries, please reach out to the contact details, which will be posted in below to this video. Thank you.